Hi everyone, welcome to another session of Law and Language from Dharmapeetam. So in the previous session we have seen some of the modal auxiliary verbs and how they are being used to express special purposes, right? So in this session we will continue that and we will try to understand how the remaining modal auxiliary verbs are used in the sentences to express some special purposes, right? The next one is shall. Shall. Will and shall, we will later do a different session regarding the usages, how will and shall are used in English language, the basic official form, though there are some changes in how it is being used nowadays. But for time being, as they are being used as a modal auxiliary verbs, let us check what are the usages of shall. To indicate future tense, we know in future tense we should use either will or shall, right? So in future tense we use shall especially with the first personal pronouns. Okay, so if you have to create a future tense sentence with I or we as a subject, we have to use shall, not will. That's the point. I will do it has a different meaning, whereas I shall do it has a different meaning. So I will do it is not in future tense, but I shall do it is in the future tense. So if you have to create a sentence in the future tense with the first personal pronoun as its a subject, we have to use a shall. Okay. Again, with the first personal pronouns I and we, if we have to ask a question, for example, something is happening at home, some festival or celebration or something like that, and all the people are busy and you have to go to your mom and ask a permission whether you can help her. So how can we ask it? Shall I help you? Shall I do something? Not will I help you? Okay, so if you have to express future tense with the first personal pronoun I or we, or if we have to create a question based on that, again we have to use a shall. And as far as our basic concepts, the legal aspect is concerned, shall is something like a very important component in all legal documents or legal sentences as well. If we try to read and understand the different sections and law points, we can definitely come across a shall inside it, minimum one shall inside it. Right? Now, should. Should basically is used to make a suggestion. To make a suggestion. Suggestion in the sense, it's a kind of a compulsion kind of a thing. You should study very hard. It's a kind of a compulsion, but not compelling you. You have to take your book, you have to sit somewhere, you have to study. No, nothing like that. You should study well. It's more like a suggestion kind of a thing. And another area is to express a likelihood. Just as how we used must. We can say, he should be at the office now. He should be at the office now. So usually he will be found at office by this time around. So today also will be no change. Definitely he will be found at his office. Okay. That is should. Now, will. Will is usually used to express a simple future tense or any future tense, except first personal pronoun comes as a subject, right? So we say he will be eating, he will eat, he will have been eating, he will have eaten, isn't it? So will is commonly used in the future tense form and to make a polite request, could you please, right? Almost the same way. Could you please get me some water? Or will you get me some water? Also can be used, right? Will actually has basically these two usages. Then comes would. Would is actually used in the past tense of will, as a past tense of will. She would often work late. She would often work late. It's something like a regular kind of a thing for her to work late. There is nothing new in that. To make a polite request again, we can say, would you call back later? Is it possible for you to give me a call sometime later? Is the sense, right? Now we have ought to. Ought to is something which is not much widely used, but it is good that we understand the usage of it. See, to say what is the right thing to do. If someone is doing something which is not supposed to be done by him at that particular time or any time, we can use ought to. For example, exams are nearing and we are playing around. So elders usually say, you ought to study now. Means what? You are supposed to study now, even though you are not doing that. Right? It's something like guiding you into the right path. The second one, to say what you expect or would like to happen. We always have expectations from others. For example, something happened between you and your friend misunderstood you. You can say, you ought to understand me. I thought you will understand me. Elders usually say, children ought to learn good manners. Quite often they find us or the children's behavior as not that good. And they make a suggestion, their expectation. You are supposed to behave well, not in this way. Right? So, the third one, what you advise or recommend. Just as what happened in the first one, like the right thing. You ought to study now. You are supposed to study now. You are not expected to play around. Right? Then to say what has probably happened or is probably true. What probably happened? For example, some food. That ought to be enough food for 4. There was some food left there. Some food was there. And 4 people were there. And when all the 4 people ate it, it was not sufficient for them. So the person who brought it over there can say that means the food that was available over there ought to be enough food for 4. So that was expected to be enough food for 4. Right? So these are the 4 usages where we use ought to. Now, used to. Used to. Used to is used only in the past tense and there is no present tense form for that as used to. Remember this point. Then, to express something that happened continuously in the past. I used to visit London or I used to visit Hyderabad. So in the past it was something like a habit for me to visit Hyderabad, which is not happening nowadays. Right? Or past habitual actions also can be expressed using used to. For example, we can say, I used to swim a lot during my childhood. So when I was a kid, I used to swim a lot. Past habitual action, not now. Means today I am not at all swimming anymore. Right? So these are the 2 usages of used to. Now, dare to. Dare to is to encourage or express someone to be courageous. To express a courage, a dareness. We usually say, how dare you? Right? How you have the heart to come and tell me like this or do something like this. So that is the usage of a dare. And the next one is need. Need is I need some water. To express a want, a need, a necessity. Right? So these are how the modal auxiliary verbs are used to express different special situations. These situations cannot be expressed using primary auxiliary verbs. Yes, we can use it, as I said it earlier. We can use them, but the thing is, we may have to use some extra words, and there will be issues with the tenses and all these kinds of things. Instead of going for all these kinds of headaches, it's better if we can use modal auxiliary verbs and make the sentence a simple one. Right? So that's it as far as the verb part is concerned. So in this particular session, in this series, we have seen the types of verbs, then how verbs are classified, more about this auxiliary verbs, a bit about tenses as well. Relate that with the sessions that we have done over there, and in case if you come across any doubts kinds of things, you can always get back to us through any of the contact given there. Thank you.